Hello, this is Nick from Breaker Press Games, and this is the Breaker Press Games update for June 26th. All right, it is now officially summer, and let's talk about what's going on with Breaker Press Games. I wanted to do this one a little bit differently. Normally, I just go through each of the projects that need to be finished and talk about them in order of what needs to be done. But this time around, I'm actually going to use my Patreon posts as a way of tracking what I did during the month of June. So June has been a pretty action-packed month in my life. Had my skedaddle come to remove my squirrel problem. Had them come out and put out one-way exits and escort the squirrels out of my place. Because I do not want to kill the squirrels. I just want them to leave. And I have been squirrel-free for like 3 weeks now, which is fantastic. That was in part in preparation for a familial visit. My parents came to visit, and so that was something that took place this month. And I went on a camping trip that had been planned back in February. So there was a bunch of stuff that was going on, but I still managed to get some stuff done. And here is a breakdown of what took place. So, at the beginning of the month, I announced the Patreon games for the months of June, July, and August. And obviously, the June game has come and went. The next game is going to be on Saturday, July 16th, which also happens to be DCC Day. So, if you're a Patreon member, you'll be able to automatically be able to participate in that game. You'll get preferential treatment. But if I don't get enough people signed up, then I will reach out to the community and be like, hey, does anybody want to play in this game? If that's something that is interesting to you, you can become a Patreon member, or you can just reach out and be like, hey, I'd like to play test your stuff. But that'll be on Saturday, July 16th from 6 to 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. That was originally announced at the very beginning of June. And then the next post that I made showed off a page from Protectorate of Genuine that had the monster entries for Choking Vines and the Phantom Helm of Gorhan. Yeah, it was nice to go through and start banging out all of the monster descriptions and getting those pages all laid out in the document. Obviously, that's at the back half of the document, which is a plus. That means that we are making progress. Showed off the Mausoleum of the Unholy page from Protectorate of Genuine. So, a week or so after that, I ended up posting up another one of the completed pages of one of the encounters. Really happy with how that page was shaping up. I made a slight tweak since that was posted, but it gives a sense of how the book is looking, and it's a really cool encounter. So then after that was the actual Patreon game itself. There was some last minute hand-wringing on my part as to what I was going to run for the Patreon game. Originally I was going to run Hillwood Camp, some of the encounters from Hillwood Camp, because I thought I only had one person signed up. And then ultimately ended up having 4 people signed up, and so then I switched from, as the day progressed and it went from having 1 person to 2 people to 4 people, I went from Hillwood Camp to my entry that I am submitting for Gesh of the Multiverse from, it's a tournament encounter for this idea that James Posnell Jr. has put together, and he ran the first event at Origins. We are going to be running it again at Gen Con, and I still haven't submitted my submission, but I started working on that, and then ultimately ended up dusting off a manuscript from 4 years ago called The Furnace Tower, something that I really wanted to get back to because it was an idea that at the time I wasn't sure where I wanted to take it, because it was just missing something, and so I just basically sat on it for 4 years. And I've decided that yeah, I think I figure out what it needs, and dusted that off, ran it for some people with some of the tweaks in mind, and now have a good idea of what else I want to tweak with it. And then afterwards, I did kind of an autopsy of how that session went and broke that down on Patreon. So, you know, if you like design stuff, that's probably a good read. But if not, hey, cool. But I was really happy with the information that I pulled away from it, and I know that my players had a blast. So that's a thumbs up. But that's still a project that's going to be worked on further down the road. So the most important thing that I accomplished this month is that during this past week, I actually started shipping out the remainder of the Stennard Courier Volume 1 Kickstarter rewards that I'd been sitting on, including ones going to Australia, because they no longer are restricting it only to express shipments, which, yeah, there was a point where anything going to Australia was going to cost over $100, and that just, it doesn't work. So we waited until that requirement, that pandemic era requirement, was waived, and now that stuff started to ship. So I do have, because I hadn't been to the studio in at least a month, I did bring some of my shipping supplies here to the house in order to be able to get that stuff out the door. So with all of that being said, so what's next? You know, I still have the Protectorate of Genuine Kickstarter that needs to be shipped out after Stennard Courier stuff ships out, and then I still have Hillwood Camp and Cleft in the Mangled Hills. There might be people that are wondering, hey, I've heard rumor that there's going to be a that they moved Zine Quest to August, and that's something that you always participate in. What's going on with that? So here's a quick breakdown. So this week, before we even get out of June and into July, the goal is to have the remaining 11 Kickstarter rewards for Stennard Courier Volume 1 out the door. There's only 11 more to go. They do need to be all packed up, but yeah, I have the stuff. We should be able to make that happen. So after that, finish applying the last round of edits for Protectorate. So Alex, beginning of June, had done passed through all 40 pages or so of the Protectorate of Genuine and submitted the edits, and I've been in my free time applying those edits and making everything look nice and figuring out what new art and what have you needs to be added. But progress is being made, and the goal is to have all of that you know, pass through over the next couple of weeks. Hal has finished the Protectorate of Genuine cards that have the icons for the different routes that you can take along the path, and ultimately to signify the different encounters that you can have. And when I talked to him last, he had made all of the files, and we looked at the Game Crafter's specs, and they have to be PNG files, PNG files, and so he is said that by next weekend he should have all the PNG files made, and I'm going to send those out to the Game Crafter in order to get a test print made, and ultimately, hopefully through the month of June, we will start to go into the final stages of prepping the files and what have you. Have Hal make the front and back cover with full, you know, obviously the art is done, but, you know, add all the text and what have you, because he's got a better eye for that sort of thing than I do. And really get this into its final form so that we can send it to print. Will it go to print in July? I'm not promising that, not yet. But that is, you know, hopefully. Otherwise, it'll go to print in early August. And then we're still in the process of accruing art for Cleft in the Mangled Hills in Hillwood Camp, and hopefully I'll be able to get a bunch of art for those things hammered out. Otherwise, the other thing that I have high on my to-do list is to submit events for Gamehole Con. One of the things that I am really bad at is waiting till the last minute to get events submitted for different conventions and what have you. I have a tendency to be very reactive and do things last minute because I'm like, I don't know where my life is going to be in 3 months from now. And I know that I'm definitely going to Gamehole Con, so I just got to get that taken care of. So that is the Breaker Press Games update. Since this video is actually only 10 minutes long, I'm going to take a moment to show off some of the stuff. You know, Free RPG Day was yesterday, and so I went to my local friendly game store, and they do have a $20 requirement in order to get your Free RPG Day stuff, and so I picked up Mork Borg finally. It's something that you know, I've had on my radar for a long time, but just haven't gotten around to picking up. And so hey, I picked it up. And what did I get that for? So that I could get, of course, the DCC Free RPG Day Adventure Danger in the Air by Michael Curtis. And then I also got both of these, How to Build a Boss Fight Final Chamber and How to Raise the Dead, both put together by Dave Taylor Miniatures. Dave Taylor is a phenomenal miniature artist, and he made these in conjunction with Mantic Games and the Army Painter. Yeah, very cool stuff. I do think it was a missed opportunity. These things are about miniatures. They should have miniatures on the cover. Dave, put miniatures on the cover. You've got these beautiful, beautiful photographs of miniatures. Put them on the cover. But that being said, so those were the things that I picked up at Free RPG Day. I also, from one of my favorite players slash Breaker Press fans, I got this White Lies, which is a D20 spy game, and I've been kind of I've really wanted to, because I know that he's a super fan. Darren is a super fan of spy games, and he collects them. And so I said, yeah, when are you going to run us through a spy game? And he thinks that this might be the game. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, Darren, for sending that. So yeah, that's kind of an overview of what's going on at Breaker Press Games. I'm just plugging away, trying to get things done. July, I don't have any big trips or anything like that planned, and I am going to try and get as much done as I possibly can before August hits, because I've got a 10-day trip in August, and then I also have Gen Con. And that'll be my first Gen Con ever. So if you are there and you see my bald head, come up and say hi. But that is what's going on with Breaker Press Games. I really appreciate everybody's patience and everybody's support. Yeah, it's been a difficult year, and I'm sorry that things have been delayed, but progress is being made, and that's the important thing. Once again, the Patreon game is July 16th, part of DCC Day. And so if you want to be involved in that, become a Patreon member, or just drop me a line, and we'll see what we can do. All right, that's it. Thank you for supporting indie games and indie game designers. This is Nick from Breaker Press Games, signing off. Thanks.